Hello everyone and welcome back to Trollosophy, your regularly scheduled entertainment on trolling. Today we're going to be taking on WA number 2 Electric Boogaloo because it's about time. Before we get started though, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Joel for being the first one to clear this level. If you want to try out this level for yourself, or if you want to try out the next troll level, it'll be in the description below. But without further ado, let's actually get this monstrosity started.
Here we go.
So immediately, we have fish. Not much to say here, they're fish. Now unfortunately, because I'm in the editor, I can't actually show the result of dying to fish, but you get the idea. The way you're supposed to survive this is by going over to the right and just walking left. Don't worry, these fish have way smaller hitboxes than you'd expect. The way they're actually set up is pretty simple. They're fish. However, this little guy is using a parachute, otherwise he would fall directly on the player's head. This creates that little gap needed. So let's actually start the level. Your first main decision is how do you get out of this room? It's a pretty simple decision. You have this question mark block, or you can try to go up for these. Now unfortunately this question mark block is more of bait because it just gives you a wonderful boo. But what about these question mark blocks, or these flipping blocks? Well, if they can flip, we should be able to go up for this one. Or at the very least, this will give us a bomb that we can then use to blow up this entire section. Unfortunately, it gives us a POW block instead. This POW block goes ahead and gives us one final option. We can go up through here, but this reveals a bomb, which blows up this question mark block. Now, this actually has several different permutations depending on what order you do things. Now I do have to be worried because the player could accidentally go ahead and activate the bomb and have it traveling, and this would end up in a soft lock. And this is why the boo is not in that question mark block. Because it's in a hidden block, it won't be destroyed, giving the player a way to die at any moment. Now, the intended solution is pretty obvious here. I'm giving you a bomb. Just go ahead and drop that in here, and there you go. From here, we can make it up here, but there is one other small troll. You're probably wondering what these munchers are for, and that's actually for a pretty simple reason. If you go over here and actually activate the bomb, and then activate this block after, you can actually activate the POW block, which would be kind of bad if it wasn't for these munchers. It really wouldn't make a difference, but it's for that extra layer.
Here we go.
From here, I give the player some more options. They can either go ahead and try to spin jump across the thwomps, they can go ahead and grab that power up, or they can go ahead and go onto the snake block below. Now the snake block is a beautiful adventure absolutely nowhere, and yes, there's coin blocks, so no getting out of that. I made sure of it.
Here we go.
The second idea is to grab this power up, however there's something obviously layered behind it. But if you look closely, it's just a mushroom, right? That's where you're wrong. It's actually a star, so it kills your only ride. And however, you technically can grab this with perfect spinning. But that isn't great, and you'll see why later.
Here we go.
Okay, so obviously we just want to go ahead and spin across the thwamps. Now, here you actually have to be a little bit careful because a full spin jump will send you into those grinders, and a small spin jump won't normally get you close enough to that other thwomp. But by just tapping the spin jump, you can get a medium height, and bam, there you go. So now all we gotta do is just enter this pipe, and bam, we got our first anti-soft lock, and probably our worst one. As you might notice, there are some moles, and they're gonna go ahead and kill us. Only problem is there's these stars over here that are infinitely coming out of this pipe, so you have to constantly jump in order to actually die. Okay, so if going right isn't the correct option, going down isn't the right option and collecting the power-up isn't, where am I supposed to go? Well, you need to go up. But how do you do that? You don't have a power-up.
Here we go.
And that's where our first case of spawn blocking comes in. If you don't know what spawn blocking is, I'd recommend checking out the first part. That was done a year ago. Essentially, those blocks right there that I just blew up, yeah, there was a blaster behind it. Now, since they're blown up, it can spawn. We just have to go far enough off screen in order to do so. So we can do that by hopping to the second fwamp, and then heading back. And bam, we got ourselves a mushroom. With that, now we can head through these grinders, and we're free, right? Well, not quite. We need to enter this key door. So if we head up here, we see the key. But there's fish guarding it. Yeah, you're not getting that one. Alright, so let's step back to think. You might have noticed that there's a key in this note block. And yes, this is a note block, and that's why I'm actually able to bounce on it. And that differs from this cloud block. Now, you might already see the problem. It's in the grinder, so how do you get to it? And that's where the mushroom comes in. Now, you take damage from the grinder going up, but you can actually do this. And if you're fast enough, you can actually grab the key with iframes. So let's go ahead and enter the door. Now, who enjoys RNG? Because that's what these setups are. They're actually made with hammer bros with a muncher that falls down and crushes them. You see, once you enter a door, the hammer bro will either step left or right. And that goes for both of them. This is randomly determined 50-50. That'll cause them to activate the note blocks, and then the munchers will fall on them, crushing them. Alright, so this is random. The good news is it doesn't matter. These are all traps, 100%. Nothing here leads to victory. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, so nothing leads to victory, how the heck do I win? Well, that's simple. Re-enter the door. If we go for here, do that, then enter the door again, we go ahead and get ourselves a new passage. Great. But how in the world does that work? Well, it's because something similar to spawn blocking. You see, when we first enter this room, this muncher goes ahead and crushes this bomb, destroying it. And this muncher crushes this bomb, destroying it. Then, once we enter the door, this muncher falls down again, crushing a bomb a second time. However, there's no block here, so it's able to fall down to this one and destroy this block. Then, once you re-enter the last door, or the door again, the bomb can fall down to here before the muncher crushes it because this block's gone, and this bomb can fall down to here. This opens up the path. You can see this right here. As you can see, the muncher is now on the lower platform. And if we quickly re-enter the door, right here, you can see that the muncher falls down. Now this did end up causing a little bit of problems, and that's because if you enter the door too quickly, the muncher can't fall down quickly enough to blow up the bomb. So this block remains on the second go through. But as long as you're slightly patient, it's not much of a problem.
We go.
After doing that normally... Oh wait, I should probably take damage. After that, you can head over here. And bam, we enter the pipe. And this is a power-up check. If you're Small Mario, you'll take damage and die. Now, if you remember, we have these power-ups up here, which will give us Fire Mario and an Invincibility Star. Alright, so we can go ahead and slide through that. So sweet, we win now, right? Nope. This level does in fact punish you for being too fast.
Here we go.
If you're too big, you won't take any damage, or you won't take enough damage, and you won't be able to fit through the gap. If you're too small, you'll immediately die to the fish. So the right size you need to be is regular Luigi. No more, no less. You'll take damage from the fish, and bam! Now we're in this fun place. Now, this muncher's kind of in the way, so let's head up here. To be fair, I shouldn't have made this an invisible block trap, but it's... At this point, if you're going up here, you're soft-locked anyway. And this soft lock is painful. Just kidding. This one's actually one of the easiest ones that I've made. And the way I made it is pretty simple. It's literally just a what's it called? A lift on a conveyor, or a lift on a track. I do have a sort of risk-reward system though. If you're over to the right on these donut blocks, these lifts are more likely to hit you and slow you down. But if you go on the left, this lift can bring you up, which will slow you down immensely. Overall, it's not that bad of a trap though. The solution here is just to go fast and make sure you make it past the muncher. From here, jump over the gap and head into the door. At least that's what some people may do, but if you were observant earlier, you would notice that there is something down here, and it's this beautiful checkpoint.
Here we go.
And as you can probably tell, there's a beautiful CP1 right here. Beautiful.
Here we go.
Now, after respawning from the checkpoint, you're probably going to go up this little pipe,
Here we go.
but that's a bad decision because munchers. They'll crush you, and
Here we go.
that's your punishment for being speedy. So just sit over here, and there you go. So now just hop up, and you'll die because of a invisible block. Yep, those vines aren't just for decoration. They can actually be used to avoid the invisible block. If we go up here to the second vine, climb up, since we're inside of the invisible block, it won't activate when we jump. We need to be a little bit careful here, otherwise that other muncher will kill us. And there. That's how you beat this section. And then we get to this section where I introduce you to you need to be holding run.
Here we go.
I'm not sure if that messed up my contraptions, so I'm actually going to go back here to re-enter the door.
Here we go.
So yeah, in order to do this, you just need to be holding run. This is simple because if you're not holding run, you'll kick the shell down there and it activates block, revealing the wonderful fire. So let's actually talk about the switch. You've probably already seen the solution, but there's a couple of things you can do.
Here we go.
The first obvious thing you're going to do with the switch is try to hit it. Not a good decision.
Here we go.
Your second decision might be to equip the shellmet. Well, fun fact, you can actually go ahead and do that and go right through the wonderful grinder. And heck, you even get to the pipe. This, however, was a bad idea, as it introduces one of my worst soft locks ever. It's beautiful. You see that wiggler on the bottom? He follows your moves. So, you actually have to guide him all the way to the right and left and back again. This is slow, tedious, and only made possible by the fact that a red wiggler's speed is a little bit faster than a regular conveyor's. So yeah, going behind this saw, not the right option. Kicking the shell, also not the right option. What is the right option? It's simple. It's called waiting. Also, the reason you can't kick the shell is because of the grinder. Or because there's a ground block behind the grinder that you can't see. Also, one little thing that I want to mention is if you don't jump up quickly enough, this wonderful Potaboo will shoot out from these cannons. And if you're underneath the cannons, they will crush you. So, you want to be quick. From here, we can head up here. And if you were equipping your Shelmet, you probably feel pretty dumb now, because, hold up, I need to kick it through here. Fun fact, you're wrong. That just goes ahead and spawns a wonderful muncher blocking your path. You're probably wondering why in the world you would even think that. Because, I mean, why? The path's already to the right here. Well, that's because this path is littered with icicles. And how are you going to get through them? Well, you might have a couple of ideas like, oh, equip the Shelmet, try to kick the Shelmet, or anything with the Shelmet. However, all those ideas are wrong, because the answer is as dumb as just running at the right speed. I know, it's extremely creative. If you kick the shell, it'll go into that pit. If you are equipping the shell, then you get introduced to this. So this looks like the same exact trap from earlier. I mean, you have the grinders, you got the on-off switch. How could it be different? And the answer is because of this. Now, how this works is because underneath this grinder, here's a music block with an invisible block. If I go ahead and grab a wonderful Buzzy Beetle,
Here we go.
you can see that kicking that in there goes ahead and traps the Buzzy Beetle shell underneath the block
Here we go.
and does that. Now, how do you beat this? Well, going through isn't going to do you much good, so the answer is as simple as just jumping it and kicking the shell. It's that easy. So let's go back over here.
Here we go.
Truthfully, this section is pretty simple. It's just a lot of really dumb solutions that you gotta be able to think about. How am I gonna go for the icicles? Just walk at the right pace. How do I do this? It's called jump and kick the shell. By doing that, we can go in here, and that brings us to the next section. Here I give you bullet bills. Wonderful, right?
Here we go.
Now obviously you're not going to be able to get past there. I mean, come on.
Here we go.
There's just no way.
Here we go.
So what you have to do is you have to take these bullet bills over here. This is pretty self-explanatory. However, you might be tempted to kill both bullet bills. If you do, you don't have any way to get up here. So be careful. Now, if you do get stuck here, don't worry. I have a wonderful place for you to go, and it's called directly down to this pit. It's delicious in every way. And eventually, you are dead. In all honesty, I kind of wish I put a lift on a track to bring you back up to the top, but that'll work. Now this can be easily avoided by going over here and getting both bullet bills to jump up. We can separate them like that, and I was still dumb and ended up killing both bullet bills. The exact thing I did not want to do. So let's go ahead and try that again. We go ahead and get the red bullet bill. Bam. And there you go. Now here, this is a very similar troll to earlier, where some of these are cloud blocks and some of these are note blocks. You can tell which ones are cloud blocks by the fact that they are only a single black outline, while the note blocks have a layer of gray in there. Now, you could go ahead and platform this. However, this brings up the question of what are you supposed to do? Now, you might notice that on-off switch up there, and that's what you're trying to hit. So, how do you do it? Now, you might think, oh, go below or something. Or maybe you should jump off the note block, but that's incorrect. First of all, the reason going below is wrong is because while you can go below, you can't get back out.
Here we go.
The reason jumping off a note block is not the right option is because it kills you. So how do you hit that note block, or that on-off block? Well, it's simple. Jump up here. Now, once you jump up here, there's no way to get back down. I did provide a death pit there, but that's not really what we want. We want this clown car. That's because you can actually hop into a clown car when it's poking through a semi-solid, or in this case, a cloud. From there, you can just go ahead and hit the on-off switch, and there you go. Now, don't leave your clown car or bring it up here, because that will soft lock you. You want to bring this down here so you can actually hop out. And then we get to this troll. This is a big brain troll. Now, if you're looking at this, you're probably thinking, okay, I need to be fast. I need to be running as fast as... Okay, not exactly what I was going for. That kind of spoiled the surprise because of my earlier timer. But you're thinking, oh, I need to be fast in order to go into that pipe before those munchers fall. Now, if you do that, if you are in fact fast, like this, you go ahead and get hit by the muncher.
Here we go.
Now, this is actually reverse psychology because you don't want to go fast because you'll get hit by that muncher. But what about these munchers up here, right? I mean, they're kind of in your way. Well, they're really not. You see, we're in a room with a semi-solid. So, those munchers are just sitting on top of that semi-solid. So we can just ignore them, stand on top of that cloud, and there you go. And then we get to this fun room. Now, I will say that I'm not particularly a fan of putting platforming in my troll levels, but oh wow.
Here we go.
Now, the way you're thinking that you need to do this is by jumping on those lines. However, once you do that, you might realize that there's nothing waiting for you. Instead, you need to be a little bit more resourceful. Instead of jumping directly onto the lines, go ahead and skip one. By holding run and jump to the right, you can go ahead and make a double bullet bill bounce. Then just by holding run left, you can go ahead and bounce up here. From here, the solution becomes a lot more obvious. The bomb will drop down, as well as these goon brats, giving you access to what can only be described as CP2. And this introduces the wonderful CP1s. You go through this pipe, and this is your first one. Wonderful. Yeah, you aren't getting out of here. Now, one thing I would like to mention is that this room's actually kind of special in how dumb it is. That's because there's a troll that I don't even know how I came up with. Because I didn't, it's just dumb mechanics in the game. If we go over here, let these goon brats fall. Go over here. Now, if you're in this room, you're probably thinking, oh, I need to go up here now. But how would you get here after the checkpoint? I mean, there's nothing here, right? Also, once you're here, if you hit this, you're dead. But that's where you'd actually be wrong, because there's actually a thwomp there. Now he dies because of this bomb. If I go over here, I can demonstrate it. As long as I don't die. Cool. But yeah, that bomb actually blows up the thwomp. I don't know how bombs blow up thwomps, but they apparently do. It might be from the hard block exploding or something. Either way, because even if I put like an exploding bomb here, it won't kill the thwomp. Why this specific lip bomb does, I can't tell you. Either way, it lets us actually progress. Because after getting the checkpoint, while that might not happen, we have a thwomp. Also with the thwomp, hitting that doesn't matter. Because now you can just go over here, and boom. Now we get to this room, which is particularly tempting. You have a door and then like 15 ways to interact with said door. All of them are in fact wrong though. Ooh, that's a wonderful question mark block. Incorrect.
Here we go.
Ooh, this is a wonderful question mark block. Incorrect.
Here we go.
Ooh, this is a wonderful question mark block. Incorrect.
Here we go.
Also, if you do manage to survive the piranha plant, incorrect. The solution is pretty simple. It's called Enter the Door. Don't be curious, and just deal with it. And then we get to this room, which is actually a throwback to the original troll level that I made, which was on Mario Maker 1.
Here we go.
Now, what actually is going on here is this Wiggler is approaching you, and you have two options. Well, a couple of options.
Here we go.
Option 1 is you can press right, which doesn't do anything. It did in the original, but it doesn't here. The second option is to look left, to try to escape, which actually changes the way this Wiggler moves. And then the third thing you can do is jump. Not a smart idea, because it just activates this invisible block with a muncher in it. The solution is as simple as standing still. That lets you go through here, and if this muncher wasn't here, you'd be able to make it. Now how does this work? Well, most of this is pretty self-explanatory. This is a muncher invisible block, but this is a little bit more complicated. You see, up here we have a boo with a key in it, and we'll get to that in a second, with a muncher on top of it, with a bomb right next to it, and an on and off block right above it. What happens is, if you're looking right, the boo stays in place, the muncher on top of it also stays in place, and the bomb doesn't get blown up. But the moment you look left, the boo begins moving left towards you, bringing the muncher into the bomb, blowing it up, activating the on-off, which switches this conveyor to go left, killing you. Now the way the timer works, so that way you can actually escape and it kills the Wiggler, is with a larger Wiggler that walks onto these P-switches. Pretty simple. Also, you might notice this bomb and muncher, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Here we go.
So, the solution is as simple as just sitting still. Here's where the big Wiggler goes ahead and activates a P-switch. Then you can go through here. And then you might ask the question, where do I go? I mean, I guess technically I could go through a door if I had a key, but how do I get it? Let's go through the pipe. That was the wrong solution. Yeah, don't go down that pipe. Now, if you noticed, there's actually a hint down here. Use the dry bone shell on the boo to get a key. And how do you get the boo?
Here we go.
Well, if you remember, there's the boo from up here, and it has a key in it.
Here we go.
Pretty self-explanatory. What you gotta do is you have to wait here for a pretty long time. Go ahead and let it down. And with the dry bone shell, you can actually kill the boo. And that gives you a key. And what is this key used for? Going in the key door. From here, you probably have a couple of ideas. You're probably thinking, where do I go? Well, let's start with the obvious answer. It's called kick the shell here, activate the POW, go through here, and go up in here. Yeah, that's wrong. That brings you back to the fun place. Also, don't worry about this yet. We'll get to it.
Here we go.
Now, if you go up here, you're probably wondering what that is. It's called a fish. Now, the solution to this room is to first get your hands on a POW. Now, how do you do this? Well, if you look closely, that POW is on a conveyor belt, which actually starts moving after a while, which then you can go grab. Now, you're probably wondering, what do I do with a POW? I mean, sure, I can have it, but what does that do for me? Not much, right? Well, that's where you're wrong. As you see, by doing this, we can actually go back through the door if it was unlocked. This is because underneath this grinder, there's actually a piece of ground. Now, you might be wondering, why does this conveyor start working after a little while? And it's because dumb P-switch timers. There's 3 of them, so that way you don't think about it at first, but as long as you wait long enough, you'll see it. Now, where does this take us? So we can then re-enter the door by putting a POW here, but what would that do for this? So it truly makes patience a virtue. So, after re-entering the door, what you get is a way through. This goes ahead and explodes. From here, we can go up here and enter this pipe. I truthfully probably should have put an arrow up here or something, but I ended up not. Sorry about that. Now, for how this actually works, it's the same mechanism as a while before, but Muncher falls onto the bomb, killing this platform. Then, on the next cycle, once you enter this door again, the Muncher falls down and blows up the same bomb on this level. Pretty simple.
Here we go.
Then we get into this room, which is basically the definition of reverse psychology. Here we have this. CP1. Everyone's favorite word. So, the obvious thing that you're probably thinking is, oh no, if I fall down, I'm going into CP1, which is not what I want. So, just be a pro gamer and survive, and bam, you get brought back to CP1. Yeah. It's just a reverse troll, pretty simple. Now, this is made even more apparent by the fact that you can actually die instead of going to CP1, a mistake that I would never make. That's because if you fall down here, if this truly was CP1, I'd make a way for the fish bones not to kill you. But as of right now, if you thought, oh no, I was going back to CP1, you might actually kill yourself just to avoid doing that. Which is wrong, because the solution is as simple as falling down here and going into the door. Which brings us to a boss. Why I made a boss? I'm as confused as you. Truthfully, it's a pretty simple boss, as it's just meant to make you think about states, and to send you back to CP1 if you get it wrong. For one, if you go through this door, as if you would when defeating a normal boss, it takes you back to CP1. So yeah, don't do that. The real solution is to go up this pipe. However, this brings us to this room, the final real room of this challenge. And this room has a whole lot of stuff going on, so let me actually explain how this stuff works. Also, if you enter this pipe, which you will do if you failed, it brings you back to CP1. Woohoo! Who could have expected? So there's a lot to unpack here. Let me explain it in the simplest way I can. Wait, this is a pipe upwards. I need to actually go here. So, this room basically checks for 3 states. 1, that you're small Luigi. 2, that the P-switch is on. And 3, that the on-off block is on. If any of these are false, you're going back to CP1. To be honest, this is kind of harsh, but I made this a long time ago and someone already beat it, so I'm not really going to change it.
Here we go.
I'm not going to remove their world record because I was wrong. Now, how do I make sure that each of these conditions are met? Let me actually explain that. First of all, if the P-switch is not on, you fall onto this blue platform. If the P-switch is on, you'll fall onto these coins, which are now blocks, and you can jump up here into the next section. If you're Big Luigi, or if the on and off switch is off, you'll be forced to go through this door, which ends up putting you right here. Now, if the switch is on and you're small Luigi, you'll be able to enter the door. Or if you'll be able to enter the final room. However, there's one other little mechanism at play. This pipe is reused. That's because, if we go here, if I place down another pipe, I don't have any more. So, in order to avoid that, I used a previous pipe. And that pipe is this one from over here in this room. The way I made sure the player actually shared this pipe, sort of, is kind of simple. I have this Bill Blaster here that goes ahead and runs into this bomb, letting it blow up right here, destroying these hard blocks. Then the Bill Blaster will fall onto this track and basically become a wall that the player cannot pass. This doesn't happen when you enter this side of the room though, because the Bill Blaster doesn't load, which basically allows it to be a wall on this way or on this way. Now, this also opens up the reason I have this blue platform and this donut block. If I didn't, then what would happen is this would actually, you would be able to fall down here before the Bill Blaster actually worked, and you'd be able to die. If I fall from here, I'd be able to fall in here, and if I didn't have iframes, I would die. And that's not CP1, so that's not what I want. And that basically summarizes the level. Again, if you want to try out this level for yourself, or if you want to try out CP3, or wall number 3, CP1 REEEEE, the links or the codes to those will be in the description below. So now it's time to actually show off a full completion of the level. Or at least it would, but I have one other little surprise, and that's a new thing that I want to introduce to Trollosophy. That being something that I'm going to be calling One Man's Cheese is Another Man's Treasure. Where I'm going to go back to a previous level and actually show off some cheese that you could pull off to perhaps save some time. And what we're going to be looking at is wand number 1. And let's actually talk about it. And it actually deals with this room, as there is a way to cheese it. This is normally supposed to be a CP1 room, as if you fall into it, you go into here, you get the pipe, and you die. Now that's still true. However, there is a way to cheese it if you have the right equipment. So now that we have the builder suit, we can actually cheese this. So what you do is you enter this room, and now you normally couldn't get out because of the invisible blocks. These wonderful things. And you'd have to take the pipe. However, by doing this, you can actually cheese it. Go ahead and put 4 blocks like this, bounce off of a previous block, then go ahead and stand up, which won't activate the invisible block, and break the previous block. Bam! Now you got yourself a way into this pipe. And that can take you to anywhere you want in the level, basically, including directly to the end. So yeah, pretty big oversight. But that's one man's cheese and another man's treasure, possibly yours. But with that, let's actually play through wand number 2, Electric Boogaloo. Alright, let's do this. So we go ahead and start off by running to the right and avoiding these fish. Then what we do is, in order to avoid getting trapped, we go ahead and hit this block and let the bomb it blow up. This gives us access to these thwamps, which then we go to the second thwomp to respawn the Bill Blaster through spawn blocking. That Bill Blaster gives us a mushroom, which we then use to go past these grinders. We grab the key with our invincibility frames, we enter the store, we wait for the muncher to blow up a bomb, then we go back through the door, grab this hidden power-up, or this reused power-up, go through here, then don't enter the pipe yet, because that would be bad. We would die because we'd still be too big. Go ahead and take a hit of damage, and now we're the perfect size. Go through the pipe, take damage from the fish, and jump down the pit. That's checkpoint 1. Alright, so again we're going to go over here, let those fall, avoid the invisible block by climbing on the vine, jump over, go through the door, hold the shell, then jump up at the right time once the bomb falls, go over here, let the icicles fall behind me, or in front of me, I guess. Do that. Jump and kick the shell. Run away. Don't get wrecked by the Podoboo. Make sure I only bounce off of one bullet bill. Jump up here. Go up here, which we can do by getting a bonsai bill. Hop in the clown car. Don't get wrecked. Alright, set that to off. Go through this little passageway. Run here. Don't get wrecked by the muncher. And I'm not talking about these guys, I'm talking about the big guy that comes out of the pipe. Okay, I messed that up. You're not supposed to hit the switch twice. Run in there. Alright. Bounce. Get that epic combo. Let those goon buds fall. And then the bomb falls. Right? Don't fail this because that would be bad. Grab checkpoint 2, and there we go. Alright, bounce off the thwomp. Go over here. Don't get bait. Hold right. You don't want to get fooled. Alright, and also make sure not to jump. There we go. Get yourself a dry bone shell. Lure the boo down. Alright, there we go. Alright, head through the door. Wait for this POW block. Patience is definitely a virtue here, and it's a virtue you're gonna need. Alright, and that's the last P-switch. Grab the POW block. Drop that right here. Also, you technically don't even need to bring the dry bone shell back because you get a new one because it'll respawn. I'm just going to do it here because it's simple. Doesn't really matter. It's just something you can do. Alright, head down here. Make sure the on-off state is on. Don't want to make that mistake. Grab a fire flower. Activate the P-switch. Right, I need to take damage. Alright, that's good. Make sure I take enough damage. Alright, cool. And there you go. That's how you beat wand number 2, Electric Boogaloo. Is this my best troll level? No. But it's the second one. If you want to try out this level, or wand number 3, CP1 REEEEE, again, the codes will be in the description below. But with that, I'd like to say thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.